Welcome, and thank you so much for being here. I am so excited that you've decided to join me on this free webinar. And today, I really want to share all the important things that I know about quitting drinking and overcoming emotional eating. So let's get right into it. The title of this webinar is Willpower is for Amateurs, and I truly mean that. If you're here and you're at all like me, you're smart, successful, and you're tired of just trying harder. So if that's you, you're in the right place. And in this webinar, I'm going to show you how I ended decades of emotional eating and alcohol abuse. And I ended up overcoming both of these without public meetings or therapy. So today we're going to build a plan that's made just for you. So, who am I? My name is Jacquie Vannart, and I'm the CEO and founder of Jacquie Vannart Coaching. And for decades, I was the absolute queen of failing. I failed more than anyone I knew, and probably more than anyone that you know. I knew right from my 20s that drinking was not serving me well, but I was unable to quit until my 50s. So I tried everything. I was a perfectionist overachiever, and I tried every podcast, every book, every video course, every meeting, everything I could possibly try. Nothing worked for literally decades. And on the outside, I was a successful business leader. I spent about 40 years in the business world. Some of that was in the fashion world. And I built a really successful career and a very good reputation as being a high achiever. So on the outside, things looked great. But on the inside, I was in a private, exhausting, decades long battle with binge eating and drinking. And I have to say that I really feel that this is a private struggle for most people. I'm not a group meeting person, although I've tried them. And I was always very busy. I valued my privacy and discretion above all. And that's, in fact, why this is a pre recorded webinar, because I know, and I know from talking to my private clients, that discretion is so important. If you're a successful business leader, or even if you just value privacy, you probably don't want other people knowing that you are struggling with alcohol and or emotional eating. I hid my binge eating from everyone that I knew. And my business reputation was very, very important. Part of my job was entertaining clients all over the world and making sure that they had a great time when I went to visit them, choosing the best wine, the best restaurants. And I would entertain my team at work by taking them out for drinks at happy hour. And I felt like if I was making multi-million dollar decisions at work, I certainly didn't want anyone to look at me and think that I was weak. So I kept all of my struggles very, very private. And in overcoming my struggles, that privacy was very important to me as well. I never saw sobriety as a strength back in those days. I saw it as a weakness because I could not figure out how to control my drinking. Now I know a lot better, but this is how I felt back then. So if privacy is very important to you, then I completely understand that. So as I mentioned, I tried everything, but I was so stuck. I was so successful on the outside, but just had this inner battle going on for literally decades. So I tried every New Year's resolution, every willpower trick. I was very disciplined everywhere else in my life. I was exceeding all of my business goals. I was getting up early to go to the gym, but I still couldn't figure out why my willpower was not working on the two biggest problems that I had in my life. So, when I did finally quit and overcome my eating and drinking problems, as I mentioned, I was in my 50s and I finally was able to quit about 8 years ago. And I quit on the craziest day of all, Christmas Eve. And once my sobriety especially stuck, I realized that I had to figure out why it worked this time. What the heck happened? Because I had so many failures under my belt that I wanted to know what was different about this particular time. And I'm a total nerd. So, in case this picture doesn't explain that without me having to say it. So, the neuroscience nerd in me took over, and people were starting to ask me, how did you do this? How can you help me? And I'm a perfectionist overachiever. And if I'm going to help someone, I want to be 100% clear on what we're doing and why it works. I wanted to make sure before I helped anyone else that I didn't simply grow out of my drinking and my binge eating, and that there was a scientific reason that I could prove and understand about why this attempt actually worked. So once I got through the first year of transforming my life, my entire career, as I mentioned, and my social life completely revolved around alcohol and eating. So I really had to make a lot of changes. And it was not easy in my 50s after operating this way again for so many years. So once I did all of that, people started asking me for help. I decided to go back to school, and I was always taking courses. I'm a lifelong student, but I went back and became a certified life coach and then an integrative health coach, a nutrition coach. I studied neuroscience, addiction, um, psychology, habits, habit stacking before James Clear ever wrote his book. So I really validated all of the science. So I'm not any sort of guru, but I have definitely failed more than anyone that I know. And I'm a complete strategist. I'm a businesswoman at heart, and I'm all about efficiency and helping people with things that are truly effective. So I finally quit for good, smack dab in the middle of the holiday. So it wasn't January 1st. It's not because I hit some rock bottom. I certainly did not want to hit that catastrophic rock bottom that we hear about, but it was certainly on its way. And what I realize now is that I finally quit because I started planning. So, how many times do we wake up on a Monday or January 1st or the first day of the month hungover and say, I'm never going to drink again? Maybe your hangover was because you ate a bag of chips and some Twizzlers, which are my favorites. That's another sort of hangover. So we wake up and say, I will never do that again. And then we white knuckle it with willpower. Has willpower ever worked for this? It has not. Yet we keep trying over and over and over again, only to fail and fail again. So when I looked back over what had finally worked, I realized that this time that I quit, I actually had a plan. The plan did not revolve around willpower, which meant that it worked during the holidays. In fact, right in the middle of the holidays. So lucky for me, I feel like I really got the hard part out of the way first, because once I got through Christmas and New Year's Eve, I figured, oh, well, if I could do that, I could definitely stay sober. So, my 30-minute promise to you in this short webinar is zero fluff. I'm all about efficiency. So, I'm going to give you exactly what I felt like I needed. And the first thing for me is I wanted to know the medical data of why I was failing. What are the chemical reactions and what are the risks of drinking over a long period of time? But drinking at a rate where I was still very successful everywhere else in my life. No one thought I had a drinking problem. So I wasn't even sure if I should quit, if I needed to quit. So I like to share all of the information that you need about your health that isn't always the first thing that you read about on social media, because a lot of times people drink a lot more than you do or I did. So let's just stick to the facts, give you exactly what you need to know. I'm going to show you the three physiological struggles that we go through. Then I'm going to give you three tools to use right now. And then I'm going to talk to you about the private proven method that you can use to come up with your own plan. Again, willpower is for amateurs. It doesn't work. It is a lie that we are told that you just need more willpower. It's the least reliable tool for any sort of transformation or change. It's just a bunch of BS. It doesn't work. Willpower will work for some things, but it's a finite resource and it runs out every single day. So we're not going to use it. We're not going to rely on it. You wake up with some willpower, and we each have our own little willpower bucket, if you will. And if you use a lot of willpower to get to the gym or just make a healthy breakfast, then your willpower bucket might be empty by 11 a.m., as mine typically was. So let's not use it. Let's be smarter about it. So the real problem here is that you are in a three-part physiological trap. It's not willpower. So, what is it then? So, here's the truth: you're not failing. You are being set up to fail by your own physiology. So, you're in almost like a three-part war that you don't even know that you're fighting. So, let's start the reframe on that. You're not weak, you're caught in a three-part trap. So, trap number one is the dual threat. Look at this number: 67% of people with alcohol misuse also have disordered eating. That's a huge number that no one talks about. This is not a coincidence, it's a chemical link. Alcohol tanks your blood sugar and it causes the craving. And here's the hard truth: you can't fix the eating until you fix the drinking. Also, when you start drinking, your prefrontal cortex shuts down. So that's the CEO part of your brain that leads you to make smart decisions. So if that's not working, that's when you grab that bag of chips or whatever it is that you love to binge on. So, the hard truth: silent destruction is going on within your body, even with moderate drinking. You don't have to drink every day. You don't have to drink in excessive amounts for these things to be happening. So, this is what I want you to know: years of drinking, even moderately, cause these problems and plenty more that we don't have time to talk about today. Brain damage. Alcohol actually shrinks your brain. I've seen photos of this and it's scary and it's amazing. So, alcohol shrinks the hippocampus, which is your memory part of your brain. The prefrontal cortex, which I already mentioned, is the CEO portion of your brain where you make decisions. It literally steals your edge in life for everything. It's been linked to dementia as well. So, brain damage, enough said, right? I think that is so important to know: brain shrinkage. Okay, so let's move on to cancer. Alcohol has already, so far, been linked to seven types of cancer officially. It silently is damaging your body, and it's only been proven to be linked to seven types of cancer so far. It is classified since 1987 as a group 1 carcinogen. And it's right up there. The only other things in that category are smoking tobacco and asbestos. So this is no joke, but alcohol companies really try to hide this from you. So it's most notably linked to breast cancer, liver, colon, and esophageal bladder, and there are several more. Let's talk about heart disease. This is the silent killer. This is the one that is silent until it isn't, and then you're in big trouble. So, alcohol raises blood pressure and it weakens the heart muscle. Who wants that at this point in our lives? So, I know that as I drank, I was eating really healthy and working out. I thought I was living this healthy lifestyle because I was drinking organic wine, of course. And I would notice when I go to the doctor that my stats had always been really good until maybe my 30s into my 40s. And then my blood pressure kept going up. Well, guess what? When I quit drinking, my blood pressure went down. I told my doctor how much I was drinking, and she never mentioned that there was a correlation. So, really important, the silent killer. You do not have to be drinking excessively for these things to be happening. Let's talk about trap number two, the nervous system, threat versus safety. So, if you're here with me, you're probably busy, you have a high stakes life, you are in the fight or flight mode. You don't have to be a corporate executive or a business owner. You could be running a family, taking care of your children, grandchildren, elderly parents, whatever it is. If you're busy, you're likely spending a lot of time in the fight and flight threat setting of your nervous system. Your brain is screaming for the safety state. Our brain is always looking for safety, whether we are truly in a threatened situation or not. Our nervous system doesn't know the difference between being chased, our bodies being chased by a bear, or our boss giving us some really bad news. So, the old habit is to turn to alcohol or food for safety. It's something that we learned at a very, very young age from before you can even remember. And that's sort of like the 1 out of 10 solution. And you've been trying to get a moment of rest and safety. Well, we're going to build the really effective solution because wine and chips aren't doing it, are they? We were trying to get the wine and the chips to do a job that our nervous system should be doing. That's probably the simple way to say it. So let's talk about the dopamine loop. We hear a lot about dopamine. What is it? Well, when you get that 5 p.m. itch for that glass of wine or that snack, this is a chemical reaction. It's not a choice that we're making. It's a reward prediction error. So the brain is releasing dopamine before you even drink or open that bag of chips. And you cannot will your way out of a chemical reaction. So it's just not your fault. It's the chemical reaction that we're trying to fight. So you've basically already lost the battle before you open the bottle or the chips. We can't win by fighting. We have to win by outsmarting. It's a three-part chemical trap, nervous system trap, dopamine trap. And it's like being in this war that you don't even know that you're fighting. So that's why you've been failing. It has nothing to do with willpower. You've been trying to fight a physiological war with a moral tool that's called willpower. So, how do you outsmart this? Well, you win with building a plan, a personal blueprint. So, let's outsmart the traps right now. I promised you value for this free webinar. So, I'm going to give you my 3-part strategic toolkit. So, I'm going to give you one for your body, one for your plate, and then one for your mind. So, I think that's a really good start. Okay, so let's talk about the nervous system reset. What can you do? So the first one is a tactical box breathing. This is your manual overdrive. This one, do it a few times. I do it all the time without even thinking about it now. And it's kind of cool when I catch myself doing it. It's called the box breath because it has 4 sides to it that are all equal. And that helps you remember this. So the thing that's so cool about this is that you immediately, when you do any breath work, you immediately change the chemistry in your brain. And it doesn't take long to do. So here I asked you to do it for 2 minutes. But if you can only do it say 3 times, that's a great start. I don't always have 2 minutes to do it, but I usually will do it at least 3 times. So let's talk about it. So easy. You breathe in, you inhale for 4 seconds or 4 counts, excuse me. You hold for 4 counts. You breathe out Exhale for 4 counts and hold for 4. So in 4, hold 4, out 4, hold 4. And you just do that over and over again. And this physically sends an all clear signal to your body and your nervous system and immediately calms your nervous system. Try it and notice how you feel afterwards. It's amazing what is happening in your body and brain when you do this. So, if you don't love that one, then you might want to try something that's called the diver's reflex. And you really have to have some privacy, or you just have to have some cold water, really, to do this. But it's not, to me, as easily accessible. And it's like a hard reset button for your nervous system. So you splash ice cold water on your face, and it instantly slams the brakes on that threat response. So try that. So choose one of these that works. I suggest that you try everything and then put the one that you like best in your toolbox. Let's talk about the second tool now, the hunger alignment. So we refer to this, or I do, as PFF, protein, fiber, and fat. And the hunger fix is for that blood sugar trap. So a blood sugar crash is a craving. And so this is the strategy, is to typically eat a handful of nuts or hard-boiled egg. Sometimes I will use yogurt. Figure out what you can have that's readily available and that works quickly. And this is like a fire extinguisher for your physical hunger. So protein is the anchor. It offers satiety. It keeps you full. Fiber is the buffer. It slows that sugar release so that you don't have that crash. And fat is the endurance fuel, and it keeps your energy stable. The third tool is the mindset fix, data, not drama. And you need to remember that a slip is not a slide. It's a data point. So you need to look at this like you're an auditor, not a victim. And you need to just stop and ask, what happened? Not what's wrong with me, but what happened? No shame. And I remember when I was trying to overcome my drinking and eating issues, and I would always hear, don't beat yourself up. You're just going to make it worse, which I had heard a lot, but until you practice it, you don't understand how powerful it is to actually change your mindset and do this. So, for example, I would quit drinking for 2 weeks and then I would have a drink. And I used to say, I I failed. I'm going back to square one. I'm just going to binge drink now. I screwed that up. I failed. But once I started looking at this as, hey, I just had 2 weeks without a drink, which I hadn't done in months. So I had one day that I didn't do well, and 2 weeks when I did. So when I started looking at and tracking my successes rather than giving up when I had one little slip, then everything changed for me. This mindset change was a key in my transformation when it came to my disordered eating as well as my drinking. So take this one very seriously and try it. Next time you do something that you're not happy about, just say, why did I do that? I wonder what happened. And learn from it and adjust going forward. That's all it takes. There's no shame allowed. So, tools are not a blueprint. I've given you the fire extinguishers, and this is amazing. This is a great start for anyone. But if you're still living in a house that's rigged with traps, then how do you build a house that doesn't catch fire? So I am a total neuroscience nerd. And when I finally succeeded in overcoming my drinking and my eating problems, I went back to school to build the architecture around this so that I could help other people. So once I got through my first year and was sober, got a handle on my eating, people started asking me for help. And when I was getting through that first year and transforming my life, because for decades, my social life, as well as a big portion of my career, all revolved around drinking and eating. So I really needed a lot of time to just concentrate on myself and really get settled and strong in my sobriety. I wanted to make sure that I was a happy, sober person. So many people would stop me and say, "Hey, how do you stay sober? How did you quit drinking?" Because other people that we know who are sober seem so unhappy. And I realized that most of the people that I knew that had quit drinking didn't really seem that happy. And my life was filled with joy. So it was important to me before I helped other people to understand what had happened. I was fascinated to figure out why at 54 I was able to finally quit drinking when I had failed for literally decades. So, in order to help other people, because I'm a nerd and an overachiever and a perfectionist, I really wanted to understand the science and what happened and what made this time different. And I wanted to make sure that I didn't just simply grow out of some bad habits. So, being also a lifelong student, I went back to school for integrative health. So I became a certified integrative health coach, a life coach, nutrition coach. I studied neuroscience, psychology, habit change, habit stacking, and all of that before James Clear ever wrote his wonderful book about it. So I built the system that I wish that I had 20 years ago. I've never seen anything like this elsewhere. It's something that I built myself by looking at what worked, what didn't work, excuse me. I looked at all those failures that I had, and then I worked with private coaching clients to see what worked for them. Because what worked for me may not work for you. And I put it all together in a program that I've been building for years and found a method that really, really works. And again, I'm all about efficiency and systems and only sharing what truly works and is scientifically proven. So, what I've come up with is something that no one else has. This is my proprietary method. It's called Defy by Design, and it's a 5-pronged method. So, the first part of it is discovery. Why do we do what we do? No therapy or deep digging required. It's just simple curiosity, a few questions to ask yourself, a 1-minute quiz. That's it. It helped me so much to know why I did what I did. You don't have to resolve things. You don't need to fix anything. It's just an exercise in curiosity that changed my life in so many ways. So discover your why and your data. Then we build firewalls. Planning. I realized that when I finally quit drinking this time and it stuck, it was because I had a plan. I didn't just wake up on a random Monday or New Year's Eve and say, I'm never drinking again and trying to white knuckle with willpower. I actually had a plan in place. The third thing is to add in power in habit. So if you try to take anything away from me, I want it more than ever. I grab on even tighter. So every time I tried to quit drinking, I would want more alcohol before I came up with this method. So it's adding in things before you take anything away, a really important concept. And it's mind boggling how well this works. So we figure out what you need to add in before you give anything up. And this is where long term plans finally stick. This is where the long term transformation occurs. And then we design your future. What do you want your future to look like? How do you want to feel and be living 1 year from now, 2 years, 5, 10, 20, and so on? And we look at the long term plan for you. And then finally, defy and thrive. As I mentioned, I know a lot of sober people who are not happy. So you want to make sure that you have this great life that you no longer want to escape from. And when I was drinking, I felt really happy. I didn't think that I had anything in my life that I wanted to escape from. But when you quit drinking, it's amazing some of the things that you learn about yourself. So let's make sure that you are set up for long term success and a joyful life. So you have the traps. We've talked about how willpower doesn't work. You're smart enough to know that you need to do things differently and you need to actually do the thing. Just thinking about it isn't going to help. So in my opinion, you don't need a sponsor, you need a strategy. So if you're ready to stop guessing and you want to start planning like the CEO of your own life, then join me in my next course. It's called Quitting Alcohol and Emotional Eating. There's no group meetings or therapy required. It's private, it's proven, it's 100% discreet. You do it at your own pace in the privacy of your own home. So it is about 25 lessons. It's 5 modules. It's all digital. It is strategy to help you build your own personal blueprint, which I offer when I work with private clients, but this is a much less expensive investment. And we help you build a life that you love. So don't wait. Right below this video, there is a button that you can hit to go ahead and start your plan. So I'd love for you to click that button, and I'll see you on the inside. And I just want to thank you so much for being here.